I don't know what happened to my...
Oh, I don't know either.
I hereby call to order this regular meeting of the City Council of Bloomington, Illinois. Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance and a moment of silence. I pledge allegiance to the flag This is the first time I can remember that we've had an agenda in a page and a half range, so I'm not going to expound on it so we can get this done fairly quickly. Will the clerk please take the roll?
Alderman Matthey. Here. Alderman Sage.
Here.
Alderman Miwalamwe.
Here.
Alderman Stearns.
Here.
Alderman McDade. Alderman Schmidt.
Here.
Alderman Purcell.
Here.
Alderman Fazzini. Alderman Freund.
Here.
Mayor Stockton.
Here. Okay. We had the public comment cards out, and we did receive one request to speak before the council. I'm going to call Alton Franklin up here, and Alton, you have 3 minutes to address the council on any subject you wish, as long as it's pertinent to city business.
Who do not learn from the mistakes of history are doomed to repeat them. There's a lot of other associated sayings that come to mind, and I am at a loss. I attended the budget meeting, and it was pretty much the year before, same again, only this time instead of remarks being made about talking, we're talking about planning a plan. Folks, there comes a time when you got to fish or cut bait. Nothing substantial was said with regards to the massive pension fund shortfall that we've got. All the more poignant given the loss of one of our brave firefighters lately. They take care of us. I think the least we can do is take care of them with the way that we promised to. I think there comes a time when you have to decide that it's time to make action. There's far too many things that are going on that don't make sense. This whole business of subcommittees. Quite frankly, I've heard more than one individual refer to it as a good way to beat the Open Meetings Act. Since you don't have a quorum, you don't have to publish anything, which is pretty slick. Also, the thing is you fragment. Divide and conquer. We don't need division. We need coming together. We don't need window dressing. We need substantive progress in the areas where we are deficient. And we've got plenty of them to work on. I would hope that with the change that we'll see in April, that there will be a little bit more decisive leadership, a little bit more positive, productive action on the part of this council, moving to better service for the citizens of this community that I'm very proud to be a part of and that I love to the depths of my heart. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, we'll now move on. We have no recognition or appointments for this evening, so we will go right into the consent agenda. The items on the consent agenda are placed there by our city staff in the expectation that none of the items are controversial enough to require a separate vote or separate discussion. Should any council member, any single council member disagree, that council member can unilaterally ask that it be moved to the regular agenda for discussion and a separate vote. I would ask at this time, are there any items that any council member would like to see moved to the regular agenda for separate discussion and vote? Jim?
Mayor, I have a question on Four Seasons, and I can either make it now or make it in Alderman's comments. And I was wondering if it's appropriate at this time if you ask if there's anybody in the audience here for that particular reason.
Well,
And it's not my intention to open the discussion. I just need to either clarify, make a statement now or later.
well, I can ask if there's anybody here that wishes to discuss that, but then you're going to have to make a decision to either pull it or not pull it.
I do not.
Here on that item, the item F, special use permit. I don't see anybody, Jim.
Okay, that's great. I appreciate you clarifying that. And just for the brevity of the comment here, no, I don't intend to pull it. I don't think it's appropriate for discussion. This is another one of those situations where we sometimes get 11th hour resident or citizen input, and clearly our council has decided not to, quote, rehear these discussions that have been through different boards and commissions and appeal groups. So that's what I was wanting to explain to anybody in the audience, that that is the case if they were here. So just want to make sure that we stay with our established procedures. So thank you for letting me clarify that, and there's no intention to pull that.
Okay. Then I see no items to be pulled, so I'd like to have a motion to approve the consent agenda.
Mayor, I move that we approve the consent agenda.
Is there a second?
Second.
Moved and seconded that the consent agenda be approved. We'll go right into the vote on that. Madam Clerk, will you please take the vote? A yes vote is to approve the consent agenda.
Alderman Matthey,
Yes.
Alderman Sage,
Yes.
Alderman Miller-Lomway,
Yes.
Alderman Stearns,
Aye.
Alderman Schmidt,
Yes.
Alderman Purcell,
Yes.
Alderman Freund.
Consent. For the consent agenda, I do not have any personal or business interest in any of the listed items, nor have I received any financial benefits from any of the parties or organizations referenced in these specific agenda items, and I vote yes.
Okay. The consent agenda passes. We have no items on the regular agenda, so we'll move right to the city manager's discussion.
Mayor, as you indicated that just earlier, to have thoughts continue to be with the Brown family, I do want to take just a few minutes and just make a few brief comments. I 839 as he was serving as a volunteer for the Hudson Fire Department. I'd like the council to just understand a few things. One, our fire chief, Mike Kimmerling, and many, many members of the fire department have spent many long hours since that unfortunate accident, working, assisting, being in contact with the Brown family to assist them in whatever ways, they could be. Furthermore, this is when you have a accident of this nature, it's also when some of the benefits we provide our employees, such as employee assistance program, is something that we immediately, with our HR director's help, reached out to help make sure that counselors and others would be available to assist not only our employees, but also other members of their family. And we're looking at having multiple occasions for this assistance to be of help. And last, I think it's very important to point out just how other agencies have come to our assistance to allow our firefighters to participate both in the Sunday visitation as well as the funeral. If I could, Mike, I'd like you to just come forward for a few minutes. I'd like Mike to just share with you how these agencies have assisted our fire department and our crews to participate in that funeral. I know many of you were there Sunday at both the visitation and then also today at the funeral. And as reported in the paper, we had thousands and thousands of people who came out to show their respect and to provide their condolences to the Brown family. But I'd like Mike just to, and anything else, Mike, you might choose to, but help the council understand how all these other departments have been there to help, to serve, our firefighters and those of Hudson to participate in the last 2 days' events, if you would, please.
Thank you, City Manager Hales. First of all, I want to tell you that the list of agencies who assisted us in this is way too long for this meeting to even go into. The amount of outpouring of support we've gotten from every avenue has just been tremendous. It has been a very difficult time, but in touching on what City Manager Hales was talking about, our thanks have to go out to almost every department in McLean County, and then departments even outside of our county. We had offers from Peoria, Champaign, Rockford, Chicago to come down and staff our buildings. And I don't want to leave anybody out. Decatur, just everybody has offered up personnel, staffing to cover our shifts so our personnel could all be there and participate in both the visitation and the funeral. A special thanks to the Normal Fire Department. I will just tell you, without their assistance, it wouldn't have been able to be done. Their personnel came, their paramedics came, staffed our department, ran our EMS calls for us because, as all of you well know, even when we have a tragic event like this, the calls for service don't stop. They continue. And the citizens still need that service. It's not something that we can just shut off and say, sorry, we got to take a day off. It still needs to be done. So they stepped up, ran calls. All the neighboring departments here, Bloomington Township, Downs, Dale Township, Hudson, Hayworth, Lexington, Towanda, Danvers, Carlock, they all gave us crews to cover us. Bloomington Police Department put officers in the buildings. Thank you, Chief Wheeler, for ensuring that when we get people in those buildings that they could respond to calls and know where to go. It has been tremendous amount of pulling together from all over in support of the loss that we suffered. So I just can't thank enough people for what they did in this terrible time for us to make sure that we could actually spend the time with Chris and pay him our respects.
I'd just like to add again, any individuals that attended the ceremonies last 2 days couldn't help but be very much moved and impacted by the brotherhood of the firefighters. And I'm sure the same thing is true for our police officers. And let me just say in closing that, we often talk about how the greatest asset City of Bloomington has, it's its employees. And I think what we have seen is what happens when we lose a member of the city family. And I appreciate all you are doing as a council to help ensure that we continue to make the investments in the equipment and the vehicles so that all of our public safety employees have the best possible chance to minimize the risk and the exposure when they put their lives on the line. And lastly, I hope you join me in going forward, hopefully in whatever way you choose to do so, in a faith-based or religious way, like I do. I always say a prayer for our employees, and especially those in the public safety, because I think what we've just seen this past week is what happens when one of those great people will not come home, after serving our community in such a tragic accident. So if anything, I just want to let our employees know, our firefighters know how much I love them, appreciate them, and how they literally, every time they leave their home, it's not like us coming to an office. They very much always are unsure about whether or not they can return home safely. It's our job to continue to give them the resources, the training, and everything else to help minimize that unfortunate accident or situation to ever happen in their lives. So I'm just very proud to be the city manager of this city organization, and very proud with what I have seen as the great love and respect shown by our firefighters, our police officers, to Chris Brown and his family. So, and Fire Chief Kimberly, I thank you and just have been amazed at everything you and your officers have done this past week. We have an excellent fire leadership team, and, all the firefighters are just, it's just, I couldn't be more proud to be city manager for this city. With that, Mayor, I'll turn the time back to you.
Okay. Thank you, Mike, David, and to everyone. I'm going to make this quick. In planning out the next 3 meetings, my final meetings as mayor, we do have some important votes coming up, and I wanted to ask, I know that we have one alderman that will not be here on the 25th. Are there any other planned absences over the next 3 meetings that you know of? And if so, I'd like to be advised of that so that we try to schedule the votes, if at all possible, when everyone is here. We have a budget hearing on the 25th. The budget vote would be scheduled on the 8th currently. Managed competition was tabled until the 22nd. And then Eagle View Park, it looks like, well, first of all, if we're going to amend the fiscal year 2013 budget, I believe, David, we need to do it before the end of the year. So that would, if we can't vote on that on the 25th because of an absence, that would either be on the 8th or the 22nd. And if we do manage competition on the 22nd, I'm kind of leaning toward the 8th right now. But if anything comes up, please let me know as soon as possible, and we'll get these things scheduled. So, okay, is there anything else that? The other thing is we do have a liquor commission meeting at 4 o'clock tomorrow. I will not be attending because I'll be on my way to Washington. There is nothing really heavy or that or new licenses being considered. The one thing that they will be discussing tomorrow will be we're trying to move ahead with the Bassett training thing, and we're going to schedule, I believe sometime, Tracy, you're going to work on getting something scheduled for us, a special meeting where license holders can come in and BNCCC can come in and make comments. Okay, with that, Jim?
Mayor, what's the status of replacing Mr. Buchanan on that liquor commission?
I'm glad you raised that. I have asked a gentleman by the name of Jim Jordan to join the Liquor Commission. He will participate tomorrow. Jim is a former police officer for the town of Normal. He now lives in Bloomington. And he also was chief investigator for the Illinois Liquor Control Commission for a number of years, including this area. So he has a good understanding of that, and I thought that he would be a good replacement with regard to enforcement. I know the council's talked a lot about that. He understands the way the bars work, And I've actually had several bar owners mention his name to me. So that's the status. Now, I did warn him that he could serve for exactly 2 meetings because the new mayor will have the authority to immediately disband the liquor commission and put in persons of his own choosing. So, okay. Anything else? Okay, seeing none, and do we have a motion to adjourn? Oh, I'm sorry, I didn't see that, Judy. I
I'm
apologize.
sorry. I didn't hear you invite, Alderman's discussion, so I apologize too. But I just had a couple of things. One is that Chief Kimmerling, I think the tribute to Chris Brown was truly outstanding. Very, very well, beautifully done, very moving. My heart goes out to every member of the Bloomington Fire Department, police, the city, certainly it was heartbreaking, and it was just absolutely beautiful to see the tribute and the what was poured out for this outstanding individual. So I just wanted to say that, and certainly not just my thoughts, but my prayers are with the entire department and everyone in public service and whose sacrifice and really risk on a daily work basis should never be minimized or forgotten. The little card that was passed out was just absolutely beautiful, and I don't know if you have any extras of those with his picture and so on and his eulogy, but it was a lovely thing, and I think if any of the council members weren't there or anyone would like one, I just thought it was a beautiful little tribute. So maybe a few could be made available to us in our mailboxes or somewhere in City Hall. But other than that, I'm curious about Eagle View, David, because how is that going to fit into the budget? I mean, are we voting on it after we approve the budget? Are we voting on it the same night as the budget? I'm really confused about how that $600,000 expenditure. I mean, if I thought we were going to know before we pass the budget, but now it seems that vote is tied in with the budget, or just help me understand, if you would, how that's going to work out. Thank you.
Well, let me, if I can, defer back to the mayor. As the mayor indicated, we had, not only 2 council members that were going to be gone from tonight. We've got another one being gone in a week. Certainly, there is, I think, an urgency that sometime in the next 3 meetings, we try and have a vote to see if there is, what is the majority position, either for or against. If we delay into May or June, then we can start running the risk of maybe not being able to complete the park before the end of the year. So other than that, Mayor, I'll turn back to you to any comments you might want to offer on that.
Yeah, a couple of things. First of all, we were talking about having the council members call in tonight, and because they're going on business, they would have qualified to do so. However, we then learned that it was going to cost us $350 to set up the connection, and we decided it was not worth that. With regard to the budget, I think, David, the way I'm understanding it is that right now the proposal is to take the money out of the excess funds and amend the 2013 budget.
Yes, yeah, that would be our recommendation.
The vote could be held before or after the vote on the 2014 budget, because Eagle View Park is not part of the 2014 budget. If it goes past May 1st, you can't amend a budget that is now totally passed. Then it would have to be considered as a amendment or part of the 2014 budget.
The 2013 budget, then I thought it was interesting, actually, the pantograph said the city found the money. I believe that we are simply taking the money out of the reserves. Is that correct? I mean, if that's where it's coming from, if it's a part of the 2013 budget, is that not correct?
That's what we'd recommend, as we discussed during the Saturday budget
Okay.
work session.
So we found it in the reserves. Thank
Well,
you.
it was money that was originally budgeted in other ways, and because of superior revenues or because we didn't spend some other money, it's available. If we don't spend it on Eagle View Park, it would presumably be carried forth as a surplus or into the next year's budget and be available for spending there on other items such as, it could be spent on pensions or roads or whatever. And I think that's the argument that back and forth.
It could be spent on anything, and I think pensions, roads, as you said. And that could be, as a matter of fact, that could be in 2013 as well. I mean, if we don't spend, yeah. So
If we had a project ready to go.
Well, right, and we always have sidewalks that need repairs, et cetera, so thank you.
Okay, are there any other questions? Okay, is there a motion to adjourn?
Second.
All in favor? We're adjourned. Thank you.